Most HVAC systems don't suddenly fail. They stop being reliable. At first, everything works the way you expect. Then there's one repair, then another. And at some point, you're standing there wondering, do I keep fixing this or is it time to replace it? And the frustrating part is that that question almost never has a clear answer until now. Hi, I'm Dr. Toya with the General Heating and Air. We are a veteran-owned, family-run company here in the Cypress and Katy area, and what we found from our own experience is that this decision gets a lot clearer when you stop focusing on a single repair and you start looking at something else entirely, the life cycle of your HVAC system. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through how HVAC systems actually age, why Houston makes that happen faster, and how to recognize the patterns that tell you what your system is likely to do next. Because once you see that clearly, the decision to repair or replace becomes much easier. And if you're a homeowner trying to make sense of how your system actually works and what to do next, that's exactly what we talk about here. So make sure you subscribe so you never miss a video. Now, here's what you may be experiencing. The system works fine for years, and you don't think about it. It does its job, your home is comfortable, everything feels predictable. Then one day, there's a small repair. Nothing major, you handle it and move on. A year or two later, there's another one. Then maybe the cooling doesn't feel quite as consistent as it used to. One room takes longer to catch up, or the system seems to be running longer than normal on an afternoon. And then there's a major problem, and a technician shows up, gives you a number, and asks you if you want to repair or replace. The problem is, at that moment, it's framed as a single decision about a single repair. But your system didn't get there because of one part. It got there because of time, usage, climate, maintenance, and how it was installed in the first place. One repair is an event. A pattern of repairs is information. If you only look at the repair in front of you, you're making a decision about today. When you look at the pattern, you're making a decision about what the next few years are likely to look like. And that's the question that actually matters. Now, the reason this works is because every HVAC system follows a pretty predictable life cycle. There are 3 stages. The first is the reliable years. This is usually the first several years after installation, and this is when the system just works. Cooling is consistent, repairs are rare, and you don't spend much time thinking about it. The only real responsibility during this phase is maintenance. The system is doing what it was designed to do. Then you move into the second stage, the watch years. This is where things get a little more subtle. The system works fine, but you might start to see small changes. Maybe a repair here or there. Maybe it runs a little bit longer than it used to. Maybe comfort isn't quite as even. Nothing dramatic, just different. This is the stage where most homeowners get tripped up because nothing feels urgent. But this is where the patterns begin. And this is also where maintenance has the biggest impact on how long the system lasts. Catching small issues early is what keeps this phase from sliding into the next one too quickly. And that third stage is the wear out years. This is where the pattern changes. Repairs start happening more often, performance drops in ways that you can actually feel. The system struggles more on the hottest days. Humidity becomes harder to control, even when the temperature looks right. This is the stage where reliability becomes the real concern. And this is where the repair versus replacement conversation actually belongs. Not after one repair, but after a pattern. The decision point is when problems start repeating. Now, if you live in Houston, there's an important layer to all this. Systems don't just age, they are worked harder. Nationally, you'll hear that HVAC systems last 15 to 20 years. In Houston, that's actually like 10 to 15. That difference comes down to workload. Your system runs 2 to 3 times as much as it would in a milder climate. Cooling season stretches across most of the year, and even at night, temperatures don't drop enough for the system to fully recover. On top of that, your system isn't just cooling the air, it's also removing the moisture from it. And in a place like Houston, where humidity is constantly high, that is a constant job. So your system is doing more work, more often, under more stress, which means it moves through those life stages faster. That's why a 10-year-old system here can be in a very different place than a 10-year-old system elsewhere. And that brings up something important. When people ask, how old is my system? There isn't really one complete answer. There are actually three. There's how long since it was installed, how hard it's been working, and how well it's been cared for. Two systems with the exact same install date can be in completely different conditions, depending on how those other two factors look. And the two things that influence all of this more than anything else is installation and maintenance. If the system isn't installed correctly, if it's not sized right, the airflow isn't right, if the setup wasn't as precise, it starts wearing out early, even if it's brand new. And if it isn't maintained, small issues turn into bigger ones faster, especially in a climate like this one. So when you put all of that together, what you're really trying to figure out isn't just whether to fix something. You're trying to understand what stage your system is in and what direction it's heading in. And you may already have a sense of that. There just hasn't been a framework yet. If you want a simple way to think through this for your own system, we've put together a quick HVAC lifecycle checklist. It walks through the same things we're talking about here: patterns, comfort, age, maintenance, and helps you get a clearer sense of what stage your system is likely in. You can download that below and use it as a reference as you're thinking this through. If this is your first repair in years and everything else feels pretty consistent, you're probably still in the reliable or early watch phase. If you've had a few repairs and you're starting to notice small changes, you're likely in late watch phase. And if repairs are happening closer together, performance is dropping, and the system feels less predictable and less reliable, you're probably in the wear out phase. The earlier you recognize that pattern, the more control you have over the decision. Because what happens all the time is that homeowners wait just a little too long. The system gets one more repair in the spring, then another in early summer, and then boom, the middle of August, the system goes out when it's 102 degrees outside. Now the decision becomes urgent. Your timeline shrinks, your options shrink, and you're making a major decision under pressure. The homeowners who feel best about their decisions are usually the ones who made the call when the system was still running. They had time to think, time to compare, and time to choose what actually made sense for their home. So the next step, if you're not sure where your system stands, is getting a clear picture of what it's actually doing with a professional. That means looking at how it's performing, how hard it's working, and whether it's still doing the job the way that it was designed to, and making sure that it's being maintained. Clarity comes from measurement. And once you have that, the decision to repair or replace becomes much more straightforward. At the beginning of this, you were trying to make sense of a repair decision that didn't feel clear. You were looking at numbers, trying to decide if something was worth fixing and wondering if you were about to make the wrong call. Now you have a different way to look at it. You understand how systems age. You can recognize the difference between a one-time issue and a pattern, and you can start to see where your system falls in this lifespan. And with that, there's clarity. So this isn't about comparing numbers. It's about understanding where your system is. If you're still not sure, the next step is simple. Have your system evaluated based on real measurements so you can see exactly what stage you're in and what to expect moving forward. If you're in Cypress, Katy, or the surrounding Northwest Houston communities, that's exactly what we do at the General Heating and Air. We evaluate how your system is actually performing, where it is in its lifespan, and what your options look like based on that, even if it's just that you need regular maintenance. And if this way of thinking about your home and your system is helpful, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We share more videos like this to help you make clearer decisions. I'll see you in the next video.